Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's cryptocurrencies update for Friday, March 18. We have already gone through the entire week. I know cryptocurrencies trade 24/7, 365, but this is, of course, the last update for this week. Yes, the charts are improving. I already turned cautiously optimistic on Wednesday, where I said they have work to do, but so here we are now. The bulls still have some work to do, but it's starting to improve because we had all these positive divergences, and you can name whatever more there was on the charts, like wedge patterns and all that stuff, but still range bound, like Bitcoin between 43,300 or 44,300, 34,300. So there's still some range bound patterns out there, but at some point, price does have to react to positive divergence. I think it's best said with divergence or anything that it is a condition. It is not a signal. All right. We need to see then the reaction on it. If the reaction is not going in the way of the divergence, positive divergence meaning up, then we have something much more bearish afoot. And I can, for example, show you that for the S&P 500. Let's start here. I know we're not talking about the S&P 500 in this case, but as a let's see here if I can find it real quick there. So we have here a bullish wedge forming. Okay, this is a bullish wedge, which is a condition. It will only kick in if you see the breakout. Okay, so you kind of sit on your hands and wait for it to break out. It technically broke out on Wednesday. So that is your trigger signal. That is your signal. This is the condition. Then look at all this positive divergence. This is the condition. And eventually we got it confirmed with a breakout above the wedge. And look at all this positive divergence. It's finally confirmed. You have to wait. And this is what I mean. Don't anticipate, but react. All right. And see now what a massive rally the S&P 500 has. It's going to go much higher. That's something else. For those who are not major market members, please do so. Great stuff if you're definitely interested in the financial stock markets. Because if cryptos don't do anything, put your money somewhere where it works. All right. I have some multi-million-dollar clients that say they have to have their money work all the time. It doesn't matter how much money you have, even $1,000, have it work, okay? Don't work yourself because labor gets ridiculously overtaxed, but have money work for you because it doesn't get taxed so much and you want the highest after tax return on your investment. Working is also investment. It's an investment of you, mentally, physically, timely, etc. So do the same for your money. You don't have to have a lot of money, but be smart about it, all right? Be smart, and most rich people are very smart. There are very few that get these wealths by being stupid, right? So to say. Anyway, case in point here is that, of course, we had the condition and we got it confirmed. If we get the bullish wedge breakout, we're going to go back all the way to the start, in this case on the S&P 500, 4,600. Why do I bring this up? Because there's a lot of wedge patterns in the cryptocurrencies as well, okay? Now, not in AVAX, we'll get to the other ones in a minute. AVAX was in this triangle and it broke below the triangle. It was a false breakdown. Just like we had false breakouts here, we got a false breakdown. Now, false breakouts are bearish. So conversely, false breakdowns are bullish. Excellent. And now we can see that AVAX traffic light is almost fully green. Again, above 90 targets 110 to 127, potentially new all-time highs. So this starts to look good. Again, we had the condition and the signal was essentially false, so to say, but that is probably because we had false breakouts as well. This has been a lot of fakies. Now let's see if we can get above 90. 90 is your trigger, right? That's what we're waiting for. But it looks pretty good. We're back above all the moving averages. So that's also good. Again, you can use these moving averages for your entry and exit signals. Buy when we close above the 200-day, sell when you close below it. Here, you would have been whipsawed many times. Let's see here, sell, buy, etc. You think, oh, I'm losing all these trades. I've pointed it out many times before, but it is all about big gains and small losses. You would have bought here at 15, and you would have sold here at 65, right? If you purely go by the 200-day moving average, that is a 400% return, and then everything else is peanuts, right? So every system will have its positives and its negatives. Nothing is perfect, and that's why you can sit through losses, because they're just part of the game. All right, there's no perfect world. Don't expect perfection in an imperfect world, and don't expect, of course, 100% accuracy either. It's not going to happen. Anyway, this looks good. If we can get above 90, 110. Remains the same. False breakdown, as I pointed out Wednesday. Yes, it was. It happens. Now let's move on then to Binance Coin. Binance Coin is still stuck between a rock and a hard place. Yes, we're rallying, but we need to get back above 430. Then we can target 500. Good thing is, and hopefully it finally will hold, is that we're back above 390 resistance. So I can turn that now in support. Okay, so we're going to move up everything 1 degree, so to say, and this is now support. Okay, so that's good. That's a little bit of a good development. Again, we have all this positive divergence developing. So that's the condition. We're starting to rally, but we don't have a signal yet, meaning no breakout yet. So yes, one can long Binance Coin and see if it wants to go to 430, right? Support is now pretty much at today's lows, or 390, depends on how sharp you want to set it. We're breaking out from the downtrend line. Again, that was also a condition, and that was a signal. Once you get the breakout, go give it a try. But technically, from a trend perspective, this is still sideways. But let's have a look at the traffic light. How's the traffic light doing? Well, you can see we're still below the cloud. I don't like any rally that is below the cloud, because they often fizzle. They fizzle out, okay? You want to be above the cloud. Those are much stronger rallies. So this is still all tentative, right? This is tentative. We're turning kind of greenish, but still tentative. And you see the hurdles the bulls need to take before we can turn more bullish. So tentative, still tentative, Binance Coin. Bitcoin, again, still stuck between a rock and a hard place. We have a 1.9% rally so far today, which is in crypto world really nothing, right? This is the wake me up another day type of rally, still stuck between a rock and a hard place technically. It is moving up, so that's good. We're not moving down, but we're still moving within the box, the blue box, though the traffic light is increasing. So that gives increasing confidence that this trend will hold. And what I really like is that it's trying once again to get above the cloud. But now the cloud, which is kind of a future projection here, is green, which is better than we had before when we were in the red. So this is good. Again, above these thresholds. This is why I point out 44,300. Those are the highs. Then we can target 54,000. But it's starting to look tentatively better. Now the lows need to hold, especially the lows of this week, right? So this is then the preferred count. We have two alternatives, as I've pointed out, that we can go lower for a wave 5, or we only did 3 waves lower, and then we're going to bounce through 3 waves and again lower again, which would be this: 3 waves lower, 3 waves higher, 5 waves lower. That remains the preferred view. It's taking its sweet time to fill in this profile. I would have liked this was all done and dusted in 2 weeks, but I don't make the markets. I just simply interpret them. And if the market wants to do it in 3 years, so be it. I cannot help it. I simply project what I think is going to happen. So that remains then the other path forward, right? Then we have only 3 waves down from the recent all-time highs, and we'll probably get 3 waves up and then another. That is then, of course, the ABC pattern that we're seeing, A, B, C. Could also be 3 waves lower for triangle, it's fine, but so far, focus here is in the center, that we can still move higher. We do need to see 44,300 go, but it's starting to look a little bit better, that is for sure. Otherwise, still range bound, and I want to see all these positive divergences bring price much higher, okay? All these positive divergences need to make price go higher. It's trying, it's a few hurdles to take. Again, we're slowly getting there. So again, from a long perspective, make sure you take appropriate caution, always manage your risk, position sizing, and stops, right? Why stops? Because you don't want to get caught on something that goes to zero. yes, everything can go to zero. From maybe my whole big perspective is wrong, that this is not going to transpire. So what you do is with stop losses is you take the arrogance out of your trade. Like, oh, I know that it's going to go higher. With certain, no, we don't know. Just like we go to Las Vegas to place a bet and we hope we're going to win, but we don't know we're going to win. Same here. We're trying to do all this analysis to be as certain as possible, but we still want to kind of hedge our bets, and that's how you use and apply stops. And of course, make sure that if you go to Las Vegas, you don't mortgage your house, but a little bit of petty cash, right? That's kind of what you want to do. Anyway, I don't like Las Vegas in the sense of gambling at all. I think it's a great city to go for watch shows and food and all that stuff, but that on the side. Ethereum, here we have Ethereum's wedge pattern. It is now confirmed with this nice breakout. I like it. It's still in the cloud. It is finally reacting to all this positive divergence. The traffic light is turning green. Finally, so we had the condition, we got the breakout. This looks as constructive as possible. Look at this, we're back above all these trend lines. Also, the trend line was a condition. You have to wait for the signal. We already started breaking out above the lower trend line here, and now also above this one. I have no real downtrend lines left to tell me that we're not going to move higher. Besides that, we have turned resistance at 27.50 and support. And on Wednesday and the day before that, I already told 27.50 needs to go. If 27.50 goes, we can target here 30.65. Target 30.65, we can go to the next higher level and the next higher level, etc. Then we can stair step our ways higher. So this is good. 27.50 is now support. What was the low of the day? 27.71. Pretty darn close, right? So this is pretty good. I like it. Support is here. Trend line is, of course, right there at support as well. So this looks good. I prefer to look for higher prices. Again, if we zoom out or go back a little bit in time, this whole rally since the mid-January lows is threes. 3 up, 3 down. Also here, 3 up. Also here, 3 down. So it's going to be all threes, which is not going to make the forecast any easier shorter term. But again, shorter term, there is tremendous variability. Intermediate to long term is where the real gains are. That's the perspective I think one should keep. So we're going to keep a perspective on these upside targets, because then there is simply less variability on a daily basis. The more you're going to zoom into the markets, the less, honestly, Elliott wave will fall apart. The Elliott wave honestly works best on a yearly chart. On a yearly chart, you can beautifully see the Elliott waves pop out because it's tracking mass sentiment. And the longer the time frame, the more masses have been involved, the easier it is to track. 5-minute charts, there are not that many people involved in 5-minute charts. So then it becomes more of a guessing game. But here, zooming out, see the forest through the trees, and we're still on track for this B-wave bounce. And I've had it on the table for I don't know how long. Anybody can confirm that I've had it on the table for a long time, and the market just bites its time and takes its sweet time to fill that pattern in. We'll get there eventually. Remains my preferred view. Why? As I said, because of these 3 waves. Okay, so we broke out. Excellent. That was what we were looking for. That was the condition. We got the signal. If it's going to hold, can it be a false breakout? Sure, it can be a false breakout, just like we had the false breakdown in Avalanche. It can happen, but this looks good, especially looking at all the technical indicators. This looks good. Support 27.50 looks good. I'm going to look for 30.65 and beyond. There, said it. How we're doing with Polygon or MATIC, whatever it is. Also here we had the condition of a wedge pattern. We're starting to break out. The traffic light went from full red. By Wednesday was full red. By today, full green. Not yet. 2 out of 5. Excellent. So the possible diagonal is still in place. And if so, it will resolve higher. We got the breakout. So there is your trigger. And now resistance is, of course, all the moving averages. But just as I showed you for the S&P 500, it should now target the start of this wedge, which is around $2.05. I think we can get there. Also here, all these positive divergences, meaning price went lower, but the indicators went technically higher. So that's good. That's really a good sign, just as I showed you for the S&P 500. Let's look at Solana. How is Solana doing? It is also still a bit stuck between a rock and a hard place, trying to move away from 79 support, but resistance is still at 95, which is also where this downtrend line is. So we still have this conditional pattern in play, which will trigger on a close above 95, and then we can target 130, 140. Okay, so this still looks pretty good. From a closing basis perspective, this also looks like a possible diagonal wedge. I shared that with you on Wednesday already. And now we get the breakout. So we have a breakout, so the condition has been met, and now we have the signal. Very simple from that perspective. But we have, of course, lots of overhead resistance, and the wedge will target about 120, somewhere around there. 120 fits reasonably well with the breakout on this horizontal triangle pattern. This is based on closing price or real lows. And here we're just simply on closing prices. You can see it varies a little bit. But again, lots of positive divergence forming. So it's good. Getting already a little bit overbought, but overboug's not necessarily a signal either. It's simply a condition as well. So 95 targets 120 to 140. That would be fantastic. All right. So that's what I have for today. Kind of short, sweet, and simple. On Wednesday, I turned cautiously bullish because we had all these conditions in place, the divergences, the patterns, etc. And we're seeing further improvements. So it's great. The conditions are turning into signals, and that's great. On Wednesday, I wrote all the technical indicators are bullish divergence. So it's a great setup. That was the condition. As great as it ever can get. And now we finally see the reaction. Excellent. I like it. Traffic lights need to turn from red to green to further give confidence that we have a good low in place and that the downside risk is very small versus the upside potential. We've not seen any downside, so that's great. So for today, the traffic lights are improving. A lot of them, as I pointed out, are switching from red to green. That's great. The breakouts appear to be happening from these wedge patterns that I was looking for. And we now have to have these support levels hold. I've pointed them out in each and every single chart, because we can still deal with another fake move. Just like we had a fake breakdown on AVAX, doesn't mean that we will not get another fake breakout. We've had plenty, so at some point we have to be extra cautious. Why? Also because we're below the 200-day moving average, which signals that we are in a long-term downtrend and a long-term weak market, where in this case still selling pressure dominates until that changes. So price is now finally reacting to these positive divergences. Again, can't state it often enough. The divergence is the condition and not a signal. Know the difference, but now we're going to get the signals because we're breaking out. So on a point-to-point basis, AVAX did a fake breakdown. That by itself is bullish. Just like a fake breakout is bearish. Now it needs to go over 90, and then we can target 110 to 130. Traffic light is turning from red to green, so it is looking mighty good. Binance coin is moving above 390 resistance, but it's still stuck in this 365, 430 range. So baby steps. It must break out above that range to target 500. Otherwise, a breakdown can target 290. But also here, the traffic light is turning from red to green. So lots of positive developments. So I would say have a go at it, right? Bitcoin is still stuck in this bigger blue box, the 34,400, 44,300 zone. I like to see a breakout, which will target 54,000. Why? Because that would fit with the bigger picture pattern I've had for a larger B-wave bounce as well. The traffic light is also improving. And if we can clear the cloud, meaning the Ichimoku cloud, that is that red-green zone through the charts, I think we can target the 200-day moving average. And even in a bear market, a retest of the 200-day moving average appears to happen at least once. So that gets us already very close to 54,000 because the moving average is at almost 49,000. Ethereum, the bullish wedge has been confirmed. We got the breakout, and the breakout of the wedge targets 3,300 because that's the start of the wedge and you always get a retest of it. Now, in addition, it cleared 2750, and based on horizontal resistance, we then know 3,200, 3,300 should ideally be on tap, which really matches with the upside target of the wedge. Now, I still think we can even reach higher for this larger B-wave bounce. Again, the details show everything is threes, so the B-wave bounce seems to fit quite nicely with that intermediate term picture. And then we should see a final low into the summer before I think the next bull to much higher prices can get started. MATIC also had a bullish wedge, which got confirmed. The breakout is underway, and it should target ideally around 205. False breakouts can always happen, so please make sure you trade it accordingly with position sizing, stops, and all that stuff. Remember where price is in relationship to 200-day moving averages and all that stuff. So is it a strong market long-term, or is it a weak market? Take all those things into consideration. Solana is still in this horizontal triangle. It must break out above 95, which is the downtrend line, if you remember, to target 120, 140. Until then, there's no real signal. It's just kind of slowly moving higher in that triangle. So we don't have the signal yet. We're just in a conditional setup. Again, we also here have a slight bullish wedge pattern based on closing prices. And it's developing a breakout, and that can target 120. And I did a smiley face because it targets right inside the horizontal resistance and support zone and the measured symmetry breakout from the horizontal triangle. So all things considered, we're moving towards greener pastures, it looks like it. If all these support levels can hold, I'm going to prefer to look higher because that's what the charts are telling me. So with that, thank you so much for listening. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you all on Monday. Take care, trade safe, all the best. Bye.